Hey everyone, this is Tyler from the SSW.Rules team, and you're joining us for the SSW.Rules Sprint 2 review and retro and the Sprint 3 forecast. So let's just jump right into it. Heading over to the email for this sprint. Our sprint goal was to render rules content with the Tina Markdown tag, and we've managed to achieve that this sprint, which is great. Our sprint was 1 week long, and you've got all the sprint details in this email. So, starting with our sprint review, let's jump over to our PBIs. Caleb and Isaac, can I get you to give a brief rundown of the Tina Markdown tag data or details?
Yeah, so we've got the basic rule template with all of the different figure texts and info tags and things like that rendering right now. We did have to do some workarounds to get that working properly, because a lot of the special characters we have in rules right now aren't supported by Tina. So basically, we're just escaping those characters for now so that they render as plain text, but we've got a bunch of PBIs in the backlog to convert those to React components so that they'll just display as they did before with rules.
Can I zoom out for a sec? Are you trying to check whether the markdown that is there for rules currently for Netlify CMS is compatible with Tina CMS?
That's effectively what we're doing, yes.
And how close are they?
We've identified 4 or 5 bits of markdown syntax that are used in rules at the moment that will need to be somehow changed or reformatted.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how many rules does this affect?
We haven't calculated that yet. We're just testing a singular rule that has a large portion of the syntax used across the site.
Because if you saw that it affected, 20 rules out of 3,000, you'd migrate anyway, and we'll fix that afterwards. Just a manual effort.
All right, that's something we can check.
Okay. All right.
Sweet. Isaac, can you please make a note of that?
Yeah, I'll add that to a PBI.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. So moving on. Barbara, do you want to talk briefly about what you did this sprint?
Yes. So for the context, production workflows was failing on SSW.Rules due to white space on Markdown files. So to mitigate this issue in the future, I have added logic to trim those white spaces. And also I have created issue on Gatsby repository. So it will be handled by Gatsby automatically when it tries to build a site.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Barbara. And one of the more important items from the sprint was what Hugo and Gilles worked on, which was trying to get visual editing working in Gatsby using Tina CMS. Hugo, do you want to give a brief rundown of what happened there?
Yeah, sure. So we managed in admin mode to display the side panel on the left with all the components and the page on the right. We are at the point where we can edit stuff, but it's not reflected live. We still have to hit the save button and see things change. So we are nearly there, but not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was mostly a spike into trying to use that visual editing. It doesn't seem to be working for us at the moment. We kind of need to do something else or try a couple more things. We might fast fail this PBI and then try to take a different approach. So it remains to be seen, but we're going to work with the Tina team to figure that one out. Remaining for this sprint, the other done items that I completed, I worked on displaying the /admin page for Tina CMS on our staging site, and I sent an escalated email up to all the stakeholders for SSW.Rules on that one, including a done video on how I got that working. So those were all the important items for the sprint. So without any further questions, let's just move on. Timesheet data. So who worked on this sprint? I note here that Barbara only had 1 day this sprint, and Gilles and Hugo had stuff to wrap up on easy leave, and Gilles didn't work too much on rules this sprint. We also note that we can't see any of the French guys in the rules in the TimePro report. So Jean is going to go make a PBI to sort out why Gilles and Hugo won't be showing up there. I've also created a note here that I'm going to start reminding people to do timesheets on a Monday so that we can get the most accurate data possible. So new releases, we did not do a new code release for this sprint, but our build pipeline was looking very, very healthy. Lots of rules changes came through, and we were building without any issues. Moving on, so we've got the application health overview. This looks the same roughly as last sprint, with a lot of errors coming from application insights. Brady already created an issue to get this one done, and he really wants to do some code. So I've got a PBI for him to work on, but I think it's a bad idea. So I've told Brady if he can't do this issue by Thursday, he should hand it to Baba to get done. So that issue involves fixing application insights so that we have no further errors using this fetch get request. Does that make sense, Adam?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Awesome. So progress on our Epic Tina CMS migration. We've currently got about 10 out of 39 PBIs completed. There'll be more PBIs completed as we go. We had 5 PBIs completed this sprint and 5 newly created this sprint. In regards to experimental work, Hugo and Gilles did a good video on the progress for using the use Tina hook in Gatsby. And then Caleb and Isaac worked on displaying that markdown content in the Tina markdown tag. And we've got videos for that. I'll update that before I send this email out. Part of the sprint retro, I think we had great videos this sprint. We had about 3 or 4 done videos this sprint. Good investigation from Hugo and Gilles, which was awesome. The sprint goal was achieved, and everyone thinks the French boys made good progress on the visual editing issue. Things that didn't go so well, I felt like we didn't have too much done this sprint, but to be fair, Bubba was away, and we had public holidays, etc. So with all things considered, we did pretty well. Improvements for next sprint. We assigned tasks to the PO, but they should probably go to Bubba instead. Mostly Bubba was just away for the week, so we couldn't assign them to him. Spikes, I mentioned that for POCs or spikes, a repo should be created and linked so that others can help. So Hugo made a great video and he said, I have these issues, but he didn't give me a repo to pull down and take a look at so I could try to help him out. So that was just something I thought of when thinking about that. And then finally, I'm going to start reminding people on Monday to do timesheets in the review. So that was the Sprint 2 review and retro. Do you have any questions about that one, Adam?
No, all good.
Perfect. So with that wrapped up, let's move on to the Sprint 3 planning. So Sprint 3 planning, the sprint goal for this sprint will be to have rules using .mdx files, or rules being able to use .mdx files, rather. So this sprint, we have a collection of PBIs, including creating new collections for the rules and categories. We've got a PBI for updating rules to use .mdx files. And we've still got that visual editing PBI for Hugo and Gilles to work on, though the focus has changed over to be investigation rather than forcing use Tina to work. We've also got a couple bug fixes for Baba to work on, including fixing the generate commit data workflow, which is failing over 50% of the time for us, so it's blocking a lot of our deployments. And we've got the App Insights instrumentation key, which Brady wanted to pick up, but I've told him to switch over to Baba if he can't get that one done. And we've got a pretty big PBI to move images. So Caleb, can you quickly explain what this PBI entails? Because it's quite an important one.
Yeah, so essentially Tina needs all of the images in a central location. So we're just going to be writing a Python script to migrate them all to that location and then change the links in all of the rules.
Yeah.
Where are they stored today and where are they going to be stored tomorrow?
I would need to investigate that.
Today they're stored in the content repository. tomorrow they will also be stored in the content repository, just in a different location.
Okay. And why does it sound like they need to be migrated somewhere?
They need to be moved within the repository. So currently rules uses relative images, but
Okay.
Tina currently only supports like a central image location.
So wouldn't it be better to wait until Tina supports that before continuing? Because I think the way that the images are stored right now is the better approach.
Mm-hmm. Matt, I think there was some discussion with the Tina team about this issue. Can you shed some light on that?
So I haven't been involved in any discussions on it. I would expect that the issues would be around how TinaCloud finds the images, maybe. But I would expect that if you did a spike that said that the images were like, if rules are under rules/rule name, whatever, and you did a little spike that said, hey, look, images are under rules/whatever, and see if that works as a first pass. Because we could most probably add an option into CMS saying, hey, look, when you go to add an image, by default, it'll be under that rule, that in that rule directory, which would be an easy thing to do. I'll talk with the team to see like what they talked about. Because I'm not across that.
Yeah, I think we'll probably hold off on that and wait for that information. I know that there was some discussion about it, but I'm not sure who exactly was involved, which is why we came to this issue existing. Brady, maybe you have some insight?
Well, yeah, we decided to do this because we didn't want to wait for Tina to do something. But if it's not difficult for Tina to give us a better option, then we can look at that first.
Because the risk is going to be you're going to have some script that modifies a whole bunch of things, and if something breaks, you don't know if it was the script that buggered up a whole bunch of rules or it's the setup.
Yeah, and well, I guess, also we've got 5,000 rules and more coming probably. And so you end up with a repository of 10,000 plus images.
Yep.
Which is a mess to manage.
Yeah. So it's not the ideal solution. But we will instead wait for the Tina team to get back to us on that one. So I'll update the actually, Caleb, can you please comment on that issue and just note that we'll wait for the Tina team on this one?
Sure.
Adam, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think what we've agreed is we are not going to be running any script to move all these images. We are going to, if the way that the images are stored at the moment is better than getting a bucket and throwing all the images together in one place, then we're going to fix Tina first, and then we're going to move forward with this. But at the moment, we're going to do all other PBIs except moving images around.
Okay. Caleb, I'm sure you've got all that info down. Sweet. And the final issue that we have this sprint is to start generating a sidebar collection for Tina to display. So we have a bunch of information in the rules sidebar. I can probably see this one here, including the rules count, the latest rules, a call to action, etc. So we just want to make a collection that can manage that one as well. And that is what we have planned for this sprint. Any questions for that one?
Can I just see the goal again?
Yep. So the sprint goal was to make sure that rules can use .mdx files. So there's a way that we can do this so that we have the ability to use .markdown files, and then we can migrate everything to a .mdx file so that we have the versatility of those MDX files.
Could you just pull open that related PBI, just the second one there?
Yep.
Trying to get my head around how it works at the moment and how it will work.
Yeah. So
are there any images in this at all? No.
No, it's not really a visual PBI.
Well, you can look at a rule and see whether it's using MDX or not.
No, you won't be able to. So the way that it currently works is that there's a Gatsby plugin called Markdown Remark that passes all the .md files that can't currently pass .mdx. So we have to install a new plugin. There is a Gatsby guide on how to migrate to use the MDX plugin over Remark. And we're going to follow this and then figure out all the bugs along the way. And then ideally you get the same looking results, but you're able to both use .md and .mdx files so that when we change all the rules files to be MDX, the rules site won't be affected. Does that make sense?
Mostly.
Mostly. Okay.
Yeah. Is that link there in the PBI?
Yes. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, great.
So if there's no
people are mostly across that one already.
myself, Isaac, and Caleb are all across that. I've handed that one off to Caleb and Isaac so that they can focus on it because that's kind of where their attention is at the moment.
Okay. Now, has the conversation about images and the general conversation about let's not do a massive workaround when we have the ability to pause and work on Tina and fix that, has that changed anyone's thinking?
For me, yes. I'm not sure about anyone else. Maybe slightly, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to take backwards step.
Right.
We want the repository that we have to be easy to switch over. If you need to get another company to switch from Netlify to CMS, Netlify CMS to Tina CMS, but they have to do all that. They just made their repository potentially worse and a massive amount of changes as well. We want it to be smooth. You pick up, you change a few settings, and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that regard, maybe we should probably maintain both if we could. Like, I mean, Tina should support both having a single repository for images and having relative path.
Yes.
So we
And
could
then you
support
could
different.
choose-
Yeah,
You choose which editor you preferred using. That would be great.
correct. But I do agree with you though that in this specific instance, because it's the kind of the first test of migrating from there to Tina, we definitely don't want to nuke the repo and change a whole lot of things. We want to adapt Tina to work with it rather than the opposite way around. I agree.
Yeah, I think I agree with trying not to make like huge sweeping changes. My concern with leaving our files as .md becomes, we miss out on quite a lot of the awesome functionality of
No,
.mdx.
we're definitely not leaving them as .md. That defeats the purpose of everything. We'll still be the experience will be just as bad. We need to move them to MDX.
And maybe as a note on, the comment about pausing the work on rules to go work on Tina, we aren't the Tina team, we're the rules team. So at some point, where does the boundary cross of responsibility? Where does the boundary of responsibility cross over into this should be what the Tina CMS team is discussing and working on?
Yes. Do you just pause all this work if there's nothing more to work on and then wait for the Tina team to release something? Or it's an open source project. If there's a possibility of helping, help.
Okay. That sounds scary in regards to communication and making sure you're across what's going on. But if you're aware that that might be a possibility, then okay. So do we have any further questions or comments?
No, all good.
Awesome. As long as we're clear on that one. Okay. So Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for the Sprint 2 review and retro and the Sprint 3 forecast. I'm going to be putting this up on the SSW Rules YouTube channel, so please feel free to like and comment over there. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.